guessing that most astrologers don't. Malcolm, you had mentioned the astrological gathering down in Virginia
Virginia
Beach.
Beach. Yeah.
You would have, and then just a ton of astrologers from all over. Uh, Kelly Hunter from the Virgin Islands, and I can't remember everybody else. But they would come in, and holy shit, they just that's all you would hear was them trying to speak, and they all understood each other. Thank God. It sounded like German to me, you know.
Yeah. I call it astro speak.
Yes, 110%. It. You mentioned earlier, Lisa, you were talking about the Akashic records. Is that something, Tammy? Are you familiar with them, and do you work with them,
I do. Yeah.
Malcolm?
A little bit. I don't get a lot into past lives when I'm reading, but it does come up. And yeah, if we need to go there, we go there.
Tammy, how the hell did you manage to do that in under a decade's worth of work? Because to me, I think there are some people that it takes 10, 15 years,
Yeah.
to learn.
It happened with me, like Lisa, when you got hit with the download, and that was what, 2009, right, Lisa, for you?
I guess. Yeah, let's say
Same
yeah.
thing with me. 2009, it came like a download, and I was just like boom, 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 and it just all came, and all this stuff came. It was everything, tarot and astrology and akashic and the healing and more of the healing and more, and then law of attraction and everything else. Like everything came all at one time.
And that's a big one.
So,
Lisa, did it just, I don't know, happen?
Ton of bricks. Ton of bricks.
yep.
And it was not just like oh, look, we see dead people. It was everything at one time. It was accelerated, I guess is the best way to put it. Everything was on the fast track. And I think that is, I don't know, Tammy, if this is the case or not, if that's an astrological that you can see in the
Yeah.
in the stars.
I could see it in mine, so yeah, I imagine if I went to your chart for 2009.
I think it's something a broad sweeping that all of the sudden
Yeah.
people that were
Key turn.
open and joyful about the thought of something like that happening, all of the sudden things, manifested. I mean, I know they manifested for me, and since my vibration went up, my husband's vibration went up, you drag
Really?
a bunch of people.
His vibration followed along with yours?
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Tammy's done readings for him. We are very connected, and we actually have had moments of telepathic where I'll be envisioning something and he picks it up. It just happened, and he's a very gifted reader and healer, but he's in the corporate world, so he's quieter about it.
Yeah, I know the corporate world all too well. I think we've all dabbled our toes in there for a while.
Oh, yeah. I worked in pharmaceuticals, and every Monday morning, before anything actually happened, we would kill a pot of coffee and talk about our weekend. Until I came back and I said, "Oh, I went firewalking this weekend." You would have thought I set off a bomb in there. Anyway, that was the last they ever. That was the last meeting of that kind. It just stopped right there.
They saw you coming, right? No, wait.
Yeah,
Here's
nobody
Malcolm.
wanted to know what I did with my weekends anymore.
Nobody asked him.
I think we all hit that point where we turn around, and for the longest time, we were like the mouse. We just try to squeak along in our everyday life until we can be normal around people like ourselves. But then something happens to where we just don't care anymore what people are going to say in the everyday life. So, what'd you do for the weekend? And just like Malcolm, oh, here's what I did. People are either going to deal with it or they're not.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
I'm curious, though, Lisa, how did people around you handle it? Because let's face it, there's no way in hell that something hit you that hard and you could hide it.
I was very, very fortunate. Every one of my friends was given validation at random moments, before I really even started discussing it very much. Just undeniable confirmation each one of them were given. And so I was very fortunate in that respect. And I don't know, they took it very well. So I can't complain.
Really?
And I felt so bad because we were the last week, someone said, how did you lose friends? And I went, actually I didn't. And I felt kind of bad because I know that it is the normal for people to lose friends, to lose relationships, to drop people that would have had a negative connotation and brought that into their life with this.
People that get scared.
Yeah, but I just I didn't have that problem. I don't know why.
Did this happen? Did this download happen after you lost the business?
Oh, we didn't lose it. We sold it.
You sold it?
Yeah, we sold it. It was voluntary, but it was a huge shift for me because I'm a control freak.
Oh, okay. Yeah, to let go of something like that. No, I was just wondering if that was kind of emotionally akin to a near-death experience. Because you have a major transition in your life, and all of a sudden everything's up for grabs.
Yeah, I really believe that. I'm very blessed that it didn't happen before because I was a nail technician. And I always had somebody's hand in my hand, and that connection. Now that I look back at it, I can go, oh, you know what? I probably did this back then a little bit anyways. But if I had been open like this, oh, my goodness, forget about it. It would have been just a whole nother ball game. So, but yeah, you're right. It's a shift.
How did you handle that in your social interaction? Did you just wing it and go along with it?
Yeah, I just wing it. And it took a while to actually be the person that would go, well, as a matter of fact, here's a case in point. I never want to embarrass friends. And it shouldn't be an embarrassment, but I know public perception is weird. And I went out with a friend the other day with a total group of strange women. I had no idea who they were. And unexpectedly, somebody turned to me out of the blue and goes, so what do you do for a living? And my friend just immediately went, she's a life coach. And I was like, okay, this sounds like a good avenue. So socially, it's awkward. It can be awkward. At that time, I didn't talk a whole lot about being intuitive back when, I first started because I didn't know how people were going to perceive it. And now I just don't care. I mean, I don't want to embarrass friends at all. And if that's the way they want to present it, that's fine. I'm not angry with them because they don't know how to present it either. They don't have that issue in their life. So I just kind of go, whatever.
Yeah.
It'll be okay.
We deal with it on a really regular basis.
Yeah. I agree.
No, when they ask me, I tell them I'm a medium, and you pretty much know right there.
Yeah, that's got it.
Where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, and how many people turn around and look at you, Malcolm, and go, "Oh my God, look at the time! I gotta go." Why? And they off they go.
It happens.
I got a thing. My husband says, "I got a thing."
What thing do you have? It doesn't matter. I got a thing. I'm out of here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I see. We talk about that, and you say medium, and everybody gravitates like the Long Island medium. No.
No, thank you.
Amen.
It's hard because I try to every now and again talk to people and say, look at how Hollywood has bastardized so many things that we do.
Yeah.
And I don't even bother to say, oh yeah, Hollywood changed this to make it more glamorous. Bullshit. They bastardized the entire subject. Mediumship or exorcism or anything. How many of us were scared shitless watching The Exorcist?
I've never seen
I
it.
never watched it.
Are you serious? Oh my God.
No. All I've seen is that green pea soup episode part of it, and I'm like, ugh. No.
That was one movie that, but again, Hollywood, because they took possession and went way over the side by the church. I don't know how. Here's a good one. What do you all think of how people are portraying things now on any level on social media? I'm sure everybody. Yeah, see, Lisa's face just automatically went. I'm going to smile.
There's such a wide variety of belief systems and people out there with the things they do. It's hard to pinpoint that to anything, you know. I try to be very open-minded because I have to go, okay, 5 years ago, I would have not ever in my wildest dreams said I was talking to alien life forms in Metatron. So I have to be open-minded about what other people have to say.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. There's a lot of weirdness out there, though. There is.
Michael, there's so many Facebook pages and websites about astrology that are made, I think, by the younger kids, and they are just downright mean memes, like really making fun of, all right, Aries people, they'll beat you to death to beat you in a race, you know what I mean? And they're making fun, and they take a little tiny grain of truth, like, okay, Aries are competitive people, they can be, but making it into this horrible thing. And there's like 5,000 people sharing it. Cringe. 5,000 people liking it. They're tagging their friends. And the worst thing is that they're believing it. These Aries people are looking at it going, oh, you know what I mean? Taking on this horrible thing about themselves when they're so impressionable at an age. And instead, they should be embracing that, ooh, I'm a warrior, I'm a fighter, I am competitive, and I'm a leader, and I should own it in a great way rather than, oh, well, you're the friend nobody wants to play games with because you lose horribly. You're a bad loser. And that might be part of Aries, but, you have to take it as a whole. But they're poking fun at the bad things, and I'm not seeing a lot of good things being put out there about the energies and the signs. And the same thing about Mercury retrograde. Oh my God, blame everything on Mercury retrograde, I try not to put all that stuff out there. I just want to tell people, look, this is what's going on. You are going to be having some ahas. Some things are going to come up. You're going to maybe become forgetful, and you're going to change your mind a lot. And this is part of this process. But it doesn't make you, you know what I mean, do all these fill in the blank, and, oh, it's a death sentence, and don't leave your house for 3 weeks, and you know what I mean, and crazy stuff. And then you start creating that, because we just talked about the show, how we create things through our beliefs. I don't want anybody to create something through an astrological belief, you know what I mean, that other people have put out. So yeah, I just cringe. I would just love to, if I was the Facebook police, I would put all these people.
She wants to smack people.
I would put them all in jail. If you don't have anything nice to say about astrology, please don't say anything.
Do any of you guys find, besides Tammy, do you find that you hear people trying to blame astrology for the way they act or what they do?
Yep, I've definitely heard that. And Mercury retrograde is right up there.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh no, I can't do it because of whatever is squaring my Neptune, and all kinds of weird and wonderful stuff like that.
I think we kind of joke on our groups, we kind of joke about the wild ride, pretty much, just because of the energy fluctuations. But there's not a whole lot of blame throwing about, oh, my car broke down, it must be Mercury. Okay, now I have blamed my laptops on that. I will admit to that, Tammy.
But that could be a real thing. See, that's different than blaming. You know what I mean?
I lost a tablet and a laptop and a cell phone. So, but I think we kind of talk about it just being a wild ride and how we deal with it as that goes along. And I think that's a better way to look at it than, everything that happened is because of energies. Like that, because it's just not, it's what you make of it. And if you don't take some responsibility for your own actions, then
right,
whatever.
Right.
So.
What did he say?
Oh, you can hear him? I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
Just barely, yeah.
There you go.
Because I laughed because I'm like, uh-oh. Did he make a funny, or was he being serious about something? I'm like,
No,
I was absolutely not being funny.
It's definitely changing the way people think about things.
Well,
Yeah, I find that people, TV and internet, people exaggerate so much, and they take stuff out of context just to try and get clicks or some kind of sensationalism. And I get so annoyed with that.
Yeah, gloom and doom. Oh my God, it's coming.
Yeah. There's so many things out there right now that are just ridiculous, and you have to sit back and go, where's the thought process? What are people thinking? Oh wait, they're not.
yeah. It's the one thing when we're doing the show, I try to leave a very real topic and not go, I'm going to magically cure your ass of all of your sins from the day you were born. And I'm going to show you how to do it in 3 easy steps.
Right.
You see a lot of that. Just like Malcolm said, it's nothing but clickbait. And people go, oh my God, I can be cured. I'm going to click on that. And they sit there for an hour going, can I get that hour of my life back, please?
Right.
I'm like, come on.
Yeah, but for $499.
Right. Take that course off of you for $500.
Right.
Bring an egg and $500, and we'll work on it.
Yeah.
And they'll put your money underneath the bed and they'll soak it. Do you all run into the same? And I have a prejudice. I have a really bad prejudice against readers that are so fake and are in it as a scam that I want to take a semi-truck and drive through their home.
It's so bad.
Do you all experience something similar at where you're at?
Yeah. I used to do a lot of psychic fairs, and there's always some, that are in that on that bandwidth, and it always pisses me off because it gives everybody a bad name.
Yeah, I agree. My favorite is I had a reading and this person told me I was going to win the lottery and, my twin flames coming in 2 months and all this stuff. And I sit back and I go, I just can't do a fluffy reading. I just can't. I feel like it's a disservice to my guides and a disservice to myself and to energy and the whole 9 yards. And the people that are deceived just, I guess it's great that they have hope, but what's the chances of them winning the lottery? I mean, I have a disclaimer. If I knew the lottery numbers, or I wouldn't be doing readings. I'd be on a beach somewhere.
Do you know the way that I found, because I work on a phone service, and I can't mention who by contract, at least not to the general public, but I find a lot of people calling in going, so do I have any unexpected income falling into my lap? Please just shoot me. Now, there are times, and I will tell people, look, there is something coming along, but you probably won't like how you're going to receive it. What do you mean? Well, typically, it's because one of your family members passed away and they're leaving you something. Right. They're bequeathing part of their wealth to you. So do you really want the money, or would you rather have the family? Now, believe it or not, I have had people tell me, well, when are they going to die? How soon? I shit you not. I'm like, oh my God, that's cold. Really?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, my experience of being on the phone lines is, does he love me? Does he love him? Does he love her? Is he going away? Is he coming back? It's not exactly interesting material with some depth to it. I much prefer more of the mediumship to the general psychic stuff.
I felt that way for a while. The same thing. I'm going, my God, it's the same 4 questions day after day after day. But do you know what I found, Malcolm? That person is calling me or you or any of us, and at this moment, that is the most important thing in their life. And they're willing to spend their time and their money to try to figure it out.
Fair enough.
That's what I had to come back to. I'm like, how can I not help this person? And one lady asked me, she goes, "You've heard this question 1,000 times." I said, "Sure I have." I said, "But I haven't heard it from you."
That's a great way to look at it.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
It really changed how I dealt with a lot of people, because then my job became, I'm helping, at least trying to help every single person I talk to. It's not just a quick answer. It's not just "Hi, can I get you off the phone as quick as I can?" No. This is your most important thing in your life. How can I help you? And it does. It changed everything that I do. Really.
It's as healers, we all release that attachment to the outcome. You know what I mean? We don't know if they're going to do, take Lisa's class. We don't know if they're going to take her advice, after the class. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Maybe they got to practice a lot. We don't know if they'll listen to you, Michael, or you, Malcolm, or what I say. But it's like we're just there in that moment, and we're just giving it our best, and it's up to them to do what comes next. So when you release that attachment to, then you don't think you're a failure anymore. Oh my God, all I'm doing now is talking about people's love lives. It's like, well, okay, well, wait a minute. That's not all you're, that's when you're attached to the outcome. When you let that go and go, I'm just holding the space for someone to connect to the love, and what they do with it is up to them. It's different.
Yeah, a very, very different perspective. Thank you both.
How do you guys deal with when somebody turns around and they look and they're like, "Well, okay, I'm going to listen to what you're saying and you're giving me a reading. Now tell me what to do." Do all of you balk the same way that I do and say, "Well, time out. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Not my job. Not my life."
Absolutely. I'll tell them that. I can't tell you what to do.
How do you tell people, take 2 steps back and take some responsibility for yourself, and to do it lovingly, politely, as best as you can, even if somebody's really obstinate about it? How do you do that?
Well, you got to kind of light an inspirational fire in them, and that's what I kind of do in my readings. I leave them on an up, you know what I mean? Like, wow, we're not solving all your problems today, but I'm connecting you to that inner power where you can do. Now you can go forward. You know what I mean? Just lighting the fire in their engine, and then they have to drive it. They have to drive it. All I have to do is, light the fire, light the match, get it going, and now they're off and on their own.
Off and running, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Give them one small step rather than a huge step to start with as well. Give them a positive direction, but a small step. Instead of something that seems insurmountable, you give them, hey, take this and go with this. And then when you have accomplished that and you feel good about that, then revisit it, and you're right. How often do they actually listen though? That's the key. They have to have the willpower and the desire to make changes and make it happen, or you're just going to get the same phone call over and over.
I've had that happen a few times in churches. I used to do the circuit, and I come back around to a place I hadn't been for 6 months, and somebody says, "Well, you told me roughly the same thing last time." So my usual comeback to that is, "Well, did you listen?"
Yeah.
And invariably, it's no.
Yeah. Yep. How have you changed since then? You haven't changed in 6 months. That's why you're getting the same reading.
Yep. That's it. I've run into that often with students. They're circling a problem, and they come in, they take a class, and they're like, okay. And when I'm doing classes, I'm actually, after we get beyond the basics, I'm channeling their guides, and we're going on, hey, what can we do next to further our path, and what pathway? And if they're not listening, so you're ignoring your path, you're ignoring what's laid in front of you, and you're going to just circle. And they come back and they go like, nothing changed. And I'm like, what did you do to change? Well, nothing. I still have the same question. And I'm like, well, then you're wasting your money. I mean, let's do this. Let's move on, and I am big on, I don't want to have to keep circling over something. I don't want people to waste their money. I want them to move forward. So I'm kind of no holds barred. I'm like, you're not listening. I don't kind of mince it. I'm that mean teacher, like the one with the ruler.
She doesn't
mince words. That's good. You should be. Saturn, you're not on your own. And keep doing it till you get it. It's true. That's the way it goes.
Right.
I'm the same way, because I turn around and I'll tell people there are a couple of answers that we can look at. There's the really simple answer, which isn't really going to do you much good, and it's geared towards what people are looking for, that magic bullet, the silver bullet answer. Give me one answer that's going to cure my life. No, I won't do that. You know, but it's what they're looking for. But unless you can engage them to try to, do you really, really want? And you hit it on the show. You said emotion. If you don't attach emotion to what you're doing, you're going to be like you're stuck in the snow and not going anywhere. Yep. You got to have an oomph.
Yeah.
And there are just too many people that don't have that desire. Is it becoming problematic? Are we seeing this in a lot of different places, that people are either so run down or so disempowered? You know, is society becoming this way? Go back to when we were young. Okay. What we were doing then sure as hell doesn't look like what it does now.
Oh.
You know?
Right.
Separation with everybody walking around with their phone in their face. You know? We talked about this last week, is it being grounded, connecting with people. But is it becoming an epidemic? If I could say that. I mean, Facebook has become an epidemic. People feel empowered to say or do whatever they're going to say or do, and no consequence to it, which I don't like.
The matrix has become so strong that's pulling people away from their soul path. You know, they can't go for 5 minutes without their phone and somebody else's belief and idea coming on that they're either going to take on or want to argue with, you know. And like you said, you know, we're not out in nature anymore. You know, we've lost the seasons. We've lost even daytime. You know what I mean? We're not out during the day. What are we doing at night? You know, I was at the movie last night, and the credits were coming on, and 3 people in front of me pulled out their phones. They were still sitting in the seat as the credits were rolling, and they already had their phone out. And I thought, wow, really? Did you wait through that whole movie just to wait to pull your phone out? What's going on? You know, and they're being pulled away through. There's all kinds of organized things that I call the matrix, organized religion, pulling people away from what the truth of their soul is. You know, even like sports, the sports machine. I see so many people like so gung ho into sports. That's everything, and that's pulling them away from other things. There's a lot of other things that is the matrix that's pulling people away.
I agree.
You keep seeing that. Go ahead, Malcolm. I was going to ask, do you see the same thing up there?
Oh, absolutely. You go to a breakfast restaurant near me on a fairly regular basis, and it's not unusual to see several people at a table, and they're all on their phones and not talking to each other. And it's people want a distraction from whatever the reality is. And I find that that's what the phones and the tablets and everything give. It's available 24/7, and it will distract you from all kinds of wonderful things.
People don't know what's going on in their own life and in their own family and their own children's lives, because they know everything going on in the city where they live, in the, you know, every other country's politics, things that you don't need to know about. I got miles away. What can you do about it? But you don't know what's going on with your own children, your own neighbors, your own family, your friends.
Yeah, it really takes away from being present.
Absolutely.
I would agree. Because you're not present, you're not connecting to people, not the way that we used to. You know, but
exactly.
Is this how we need to evolve? And I question that simply. Let's fling ourselves 500 years in the future to where we are already having colonization on Mars, and we are extrapolating ourselves to who knows where, whatever the next, you know, habitable galaxy is besides our own little system, solar system. Is this how we're going to be communicating with everybody instead of having those personal interactions all the time?
it kind of feels like devolving.
Yeah, devolving.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
There
here
are,
we are, here we are connected to more technology, but less connected to everything that is important. Everything that's important. You can have a cell phone, a tablet, a computer, whatever you want to have in front of you. It does not increase your value as a person as much as 5 minutes of silence.
mhm.
Okay, riddle me this, Batman. I say these things with yeah, with a lot of jest. Honest to God.
Oh, that was funny. I'm
Look
sorry.
at.
Does that make you the Joker or Commissioner Gordon? Which one are you?
I don't know. I
I
thought
don't
I'd get
know.
cat.
Or are you Robin? I don't know.
Oh, wait a minute.
We would all agree that we are in a time of mass awakening. Yeah?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Look at how that has tracked with technology.
That's why technology is coming in stronger than ever to be the matrix to keep people from evolving.
But at the same time, we're tracking almost on a one-to-one scale. The more the technology grows, the more we are experiencing this awakening. Just like Lisa, 38 years old. Okay? Things are changing as technology is changing. And I think we touched on it once before. Are we going to reach it? No, nobody's home. I'm sorry. Go away.
It's the bat phone.
That's me. Sorry. I am on the after show. Can I phone you back?
Yep. Now he has to pay the bill. His phone
I'll
rang
talk to you
first,
later.
and he answered it.
Is it the realtor?
Yeah. Oh my God.
No,
Yes.
it's not very far.
It was the plumber.
Oh,
Oh, I can only wish.
yeah.
Oh,
Um,
sorry, go ahead.
No, but I'm finding it's there's a gulf because there's people are really dedicated to being asleep, and the ones that want to be awake are really awake. I mean, you look into the eyes of some of the young people now, and there is an incredible awareness, and that's very that's really pleasing. That it's not lost. There's still people out there following, really committed to their spiritual path.
Okay, but the kids that are awake don't have the fundamental knowledge that we have at our age or at this level, if I can put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The experience, yeah.
They're either... It's almost like there is a brand new sect of people that are reinventing the wheel, and they're coming up with something that looks like an octagon, and it's not round. Not the way that we would perceive it, but it works for them in their life because their attention span is about as big as a gnat.
Yeah.
So is it a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, we all have to, make our own path. So it's where, it's going to take them where it takes them. But as long as the more awake they are, the more evolved they get. I mean, I think it's pretty simple.
Oh, okay,
It
but
may look like an octagon for the moment, but it changes.
So if let's take 100 people across all ages. It used to be 20 years ago, 18 to 35 people would be awake. And the rest of them were sheeple and moving along in the corporate world and working at the factory, stamping out license plates or whatever. Okay. Now you fast forward today, you've got 70 of them are awake and only 30 sheeple still walking around and doing things. But out of those 70, yes, they're awake. Yes, the collective is growing. But what about the wisdom and the intelligence of?
Right.
Are they going to drive to understand that? Or are they just going to go, oh, look, I can make a candle catch fire?
But should you? Right.
Yeah.
I don't even think that they get to a point of asking if they should.
There's no...
Go ahead, Malcolm.
Wisdom takes the time it takes. I mean, it's only coming from experience, from mistakes, from successes. And as we grow and develop ourselves, it's how we develop wisdom. So they're coming in with all the tools, but it's like they got the keys for the Ferrari, but they don't know how to drive it. And that's kind of how I look at it. So, you know, they need to take some driving lessons.
It's because they don't know how to drive stick shifts anymore. Sorry. That's how you keep your car from getting stolen.
Yeah.
Stick shifts.
Driver stick. But these are the kinds of things that I sit and I think about. And I'm like, on the show, I turn around, and I don't know if a lot of people will think about it or if they caught it. People take vacations as an escapism from their life. And there was a meme that was running around on Facebook. I don't know if anybody caught it. They said, I want to build a life that I don't have to take a vacation from.
Right.
And that one hit me kind of hard. I'm like, wow. You know, what does that life look like? We are so ingrained and so conditioned to do certain things that until we do wake up, until we really kind of pay attention, we're on autopilot. Even us, as we are now, are still conditioned to consumerism. You know, yes, we're awake and we're evolved to a certain degree. But it's almost like we can't avoid some of the bit traps that are out there, if that makes sense. And if that's getting too philosophical, let me know. But it's just, these are the things that start to bend my brain after a little while. Don't everybody talk at once.
Well. Consumerism, buying the next new thing, buying the next phone, buying the next car, you know, getting the next big house, where people are so worried about getting the money to afford that, where there's no spiritual practice. Like Malcolm said, meditate and pray. When's the time for that? When do people have time for that when they're on their phone and they're working 24/7, you know, a couple different jobs to afford this glamorous lifestyle that they can't even enjoy, you know? There's no spiritual time.
And they don't realize that, just like you said, Tammy, that they're on their phone all the time. 5 minutes is all you need. 5 minutes is all you need to find some quiet time. You don't have to sit down and meditate for an hour in the silence of this, you know, catacomb or whatever. 5 minutes in the living room is all you need to expand your mind and change your life. And people, they would rather spend it on Facebook or drive through the Starbucks, and that's where they're going to spend their time. So it's the warped sense of, and I think we're getting further and further away from what's important with the more technology we get. And what's a really interesting question is, would spirituality be where it is right now? Because we are growing, you know, it's growing exponentially. Would we be where we are now without social media and all of this technology?
And that's what I was saying. We're growing on a one-to-one pathway. We're in parallel. The spirituality.
But if we deleted the technology, where would we be?
Well, all of the ancient teachings that used to be secret, and you used to have to go through all kinds of trials and, you know, to get. Now you can just dial it up on the internet, and it's there for everybody to see. But I mean, who uses the stuff is really the question.
Right.
Because it is so much more open. Just stepping back one, Edgar Casey had a recipe that I really liked for spiritual practice, and it's meditate for 15 minutes a day and pray for 15 minutes a day. Prayer is when you talk to God or the divine, and meditation is when you listen.
When you listen, right?
That's very simple, very direct. I find that really works. Anybody can carve out a half an hour out of their day.
Yeah. It's not hard.
Yeah, and then how many people actually want to? I run into this all the time. People, this is not a general base thing for when people watch the after show later on. You have to understand, I probably only talk to a very thin select kind of layer or swath of people at any given time. But a lot of people are looking for the answer without knowing what the question is. You know, it's like, okay, it reminds me of, oh Lord, what was the guy's name? Did a book about the galaxy. Well, that's the ultimate answer. And the machine said 42, and nobody understood what the hell the answer meant.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I
Nerd
love
alert.
that. I love that book. It's hilarious. You know, but people are asking for a question or for an answer that they really don't understand the question to begin with. They just want the answer.
Right.
Like, I'm going to pull it out here and I'm going to plug it in over there and it's going to work. It's going to make life better. No. Chances are when you misapply what you heard, it's going to make life worse. And then who gets blamed? We do. Well, you told me to do this. Oh, my God. No, I didn't tell you. But are we going to reach that point of what they call singularity, where metaphysics and electronics, technology, gap and meet in the middle? I know Stephen Hawking, physicist, and Elon Musk from SpaceX and Tesla were both scared shitless about AI because it would become predominant and run the world. You know, how do you explain to an artificial intelligence what the afterlife is?
Right.
But the bigger question about that, would they actually know? Would they understand more than we do? Would they understand the relationship and a connection with Mother Earth? Because they came from that, just in a different fashion than we did. These are the things that I think about.
You're deep, man.
I'll tell you what. Some of it I don't know. I think my brain just goes on a sabbatical and forgets to take the rest of me with it. You know?
Oh.
What has anybody else been up to and thinking in the last couple of days?
I'm going to let everybody else field this.
Lisa just wants to sell her home.
That's been all-consuming for us.
Oh, of course. You know, that's the biggest thing that you got going on right now.
It isn't. That's the thing. It's not. It's
Really?
not. No, we have a grandbaby coming.
When?
So we just had the reveal party this past weekend.
That's
so
what you were doing back in Ohio.
Yeah, we have a grandson coming. So our first grandbaby, and just makes everything else okay. So excited.
See, this is what I was saying during the show. It's raining, it's flooding, there's hail, tornadoes, there's a hurricane on the way, and what is Lisa doing? She's laughing.
My poor realtor.
Check it out. We only have half a bottle of wine. Shit, that's great.
Oh gosh, it's all good. It's all good.
But that tickles me because I don't get to run into a lot of people like you that are bubbly. You're probably the one that gets up in the morning and you're happy the minute that your feet hit the floor, and you used to go to work and people would go, "Why are you so damn happy?"
My husband's leaning in on this one.
That is a lie.
What did he say? I couldn't make that out.
I couldn't hear it.
I said that is a lie.
Oh.
That is not a movie.
So,
She's only ever seen a handful of sunrises.
sit back.
Oh.
I'm very, you would know, I'm very OCD. I have some quirks, but my main quirk is time. I'm very punctual, so I have some quirks. I do. It's okay. But it comes from working on a clock for so many years. I can't stand to be 30 seconds late. I can't stand to be 15 seconds late.
Really?
So yeah, that's my stressor. That triggers me.
Remind me to tell you if we're supposed to meet at 5 that we'll be there at 6.
Oh no.
I'm the other way around.
Oh.
Time management is not one of my skill sets. I suck at it.
I don't. I've just been that way. So but everything else is changeable. So whatever. I find so much joy in what I do anymore that I just kind of. And don't get me wrong, He may chime in. I do have moments.
I absolutely love what I do. The readings, the results work. I mean, I couldn't imagine doing anything else. You know, I'm ready to do this another 20 years. That's how much I love it.
That's awesome.
Now, I don't know if Lisa knew. How old are you, Malcolm?
I'm 60.
No, you're not.
Yep.
What are
Yep.
you drinking or eating that makes you look that good at 60?
Why? Thank you. Good genes is about all I can put it down to. I can't claim good habits.
You probably got some Gemini in there somewhere.
I don't know
Gemini
where the
planet.
Gemini is in my chart, to tell you the truth. I'm double Capricorn, though.
Do you know what your moon is?
Yes, balsamic.
No, the sign. The sign. The sign.
Oh, no. Where is it in my chart? No, I can't. I don't know.
Yeah, your moon could be Gemini.
So wait a minute. Astrology affects how well you age?
Yeah, if you have a strong Gemini, it's young. Very,
That's
very young.
fine.
What's that?
Well, it's up to Capricorn always aged backwards. You get younger as we get older.
Yeah, it's true. That is true. You get younger,
That-
because
I am experiencing this.
Capricorn rolls time. Saturn rolls Capricorn, Saturn rolls time. So yeah, you start out as an old soul, and then get younger as you spiral up. So yeah,
Well, I'm having a lot more fun now than I ever did as a kid.
yeah. That's good.
The first time I met Malcolm at that astrological meeting in Virginia Beach. And the first time when he told me how old he was then, and this was, oh my God, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I think.
A little longer than that, I think. But
Has it been that
maybe
long?
10? Yeah.
Oh my God. Time and I are not friends at all.
Yeah.
My viewpoint of time is radically different, I think, than most people. But he told me how old he was. I'm like, there's no fucking way that you're that old. It can't happen. He's like, yeah. Oh God. I figured you'd get a kick out of that.
That's awesome, though. That's awesome.
Well, it's cool. I get carded when I try and get a senior discount.
I like that. I would like that.
That's when you want to get carded.
My-
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I mean, what can I tell you? And I had this experience. Have you guys ever seen the Hangover?
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's an actor in there, Zach Galifianakis. And
Yeah.
if I get a little bit shaggy, when that movie first came out, I had no clue what was going on. Everybody's like pointing at me and taking my picture, and I'm like, what the fuck? You know, it's this. And like they're asking me for autographs. And finally, somebody told me after about 2 weeks, and I still get asked to this day, oh, can I take a picture with you? And my friends will never believe it.
$10. $10.
There you
Great.
go.
Buy me a drink.
So it was a lot of fun. I still get it occasionally, but because Zach isn't as prominent as he used to be. But it was a lot of fun. Once I figured it out, we could get better seats in restaurants. And oh no, I'm not him. And people refused to believe me. It was really crazy.
I'm going to have to go and watch that movie. I haven't seen it before.
Yeah, you got to watch it. It's funny.
Yeah, it's a good movie. It's funny.
It's funny.
A Lost Weekend. And they're trying to claim it. They find it back piece by piece.
Sounds like what we do is metaphysics and find piece by piece by piece. Who mentioned during the show shards of a soul? Was it you, Lisa?
Yeah. Soul fragments.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Meaning what?
With shamanism, when I'm doing healing techniques, I will go in. What happens is, so say you've been in an automotive accident, and you know that disconnected feeling you have from that accident, where you just feel like you're displaced. What happens is our soul actually breaks a little piece off and says, okay, we're going to set this over here, and we're going to try and bring the rest of ourselves back to normal. And that little soul fragment gets left along the way. So this happens in past lives, in our current life, with everything from that moment that we work to heal, that moment that we've been yelled at and it sticks in our memory, or we were denied something, or that moment that just, we wanted to be hugged and it didn't happen. So there's all these tiny little pieces that we've left along the way, like breadcrumbs. So what I go in and do is I work with people's guides and their totems and bring those pieces back and reintegrate them into the soul, and just kind of heal it all. I don't heal it all at one time, because I usually only do like 3 at a time, because people can have hundreds of these floating around out there. If you've had a traumatic past, a traumatic childhood, and sadly, when I'm doing it, I can actually see sometimes part of that memory, and it's people go through some stuff. So bringing that back is incredibly helpful.
All right, I'm going to ask. There are things in my childhood, in my past, that I know for fact my brain has completely segmented that section out, and
Sure.
It's in a warehouse somewhere else.
Sure.
Because until somebody says something about it, or I really have to think about it, I don't remember it. And when I do, I get massively aggravated, and I'm pissed because I did remember, because I don't want to.
Right.
So putting that back in its proper place, the fragment, what good would it do? And I'm asking that truthfully because I don't understand.
It's a healing. It's going in, transmuting energy, and bringing it back to it, cutting the cords that go with that to bring you back to wholeness. Because think of it as a big bubble of gold light. And each of these little soul fragments missing is this little void. You want this bubble of light to be complete. That is where you're supposed to be. That's where you're going to be optimum. You're going to get the best connection, the best health, the best emotional status in your life to be available for not only yourself, but everybody else around you as well. So bringing those pieces back, bring you back to a feeling of completeness, and it is really deep soul healing that's been around since Paleolithic time. The Paleolithic human was actually performing these services on their tribes, their local tribes.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There's cave paintings about it, and Toulouse, France, are the oldest ones they've found. So it's just an amazing process, and you'd be surprised of the things that you feel freer about and more open emotionally once you've had these fragments brought back. How easy it is to let go of some of the negativity. So if you're trying to move forward and let go of something, release, then it's easier to release it and move forward. So it really is amazing.
What do you do when people balk at the thought of that? It's just like me right now, thinking about having to go back and traipse through some of the crap.
It's not something you have to do. When I do this, it is not something we sit and talk about if you don't want to. Now, most people that I work with, they want to have a discussion about what I found. We want to know. We want to know what you found. They're looking for their own validation, So, but when I do a healing session, if somebody doesn't want to talk about it, then we just don't. If they trust the process and they go, you know what, I understand, spirit is going to step in, because usually when I go in, I'm working so closely with guides that I'm sometimes just the observer, in that energy. As long as you can trust that you have quality guides that are going to go in and do the very best work for you, then you have to follow that to the natural conclusion of you're going to get nothing but benefit and healing. So you don't actually have to discuss it and dredge it up. It's just something that is healed from within. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
Okay, good.
It does.
I'm channeling here, so
I'm processing a lot.
Yeah, it's profound. It's very deep healing. And when I do a shamanic session, that's not the only thing I'm doing. I'm doing psychopomp extractions, removing attachments. It's a huge lump of stuff that happens in a session. So that's only one little piece of it. It's also the healing that goes with that is the other things, the cords that attach you to those moments that we didn't like, that hold those pieces back there. So it's not, that's just a one little piece of a greater session. So
I've had one of those sessions. Well, I've had a couple sessions with Lisa. She's done that for me. And, she'll type everything out because she knows I want to hear it. And it's something, it is, like you said, validation. It's confirmation already.
Yeah,
I already know this stuff is happening. I already know this needs to happen. And I know it needs to heal and shift. I'll read one sentence in and I'll just start crying. And the relief is huge. And I think, Michael, you're thinking that she's going to reconnect you to the anger and the sadness of that situation. That's not happening at all. When she reconnects these soul pieces, she's healing it up. So you're not reconnecting and thinking about the bad things that happen. Those are gone, totally gone. And then just the relief, like, oh my God, I will feel like 10,000 times later, and Lisa does a session in like 10 minutes, takes everything up. It takes me longer to read it than it did for her to do it. And I feel like 10,000 lifetimes shifted away. And I get done crying. And then when you get done crying, and you might not even cry, but I'm a crier, I'll cry. And then when I'm done crying, it's done. You know what I mean? It's gone. And so many things have shifted in so many ways. It's like, wow, holy smoke.
So when you look back on those moments and you would normally get aggravation, you should feel more relief than anything, and be like, oh my goodness, that's the past. I can move forward. So that's the whole purpose of it, is moving forward.
Okay,
to take back your power.
Exactly.
These old wounds are taking power away from us. They diminish us. They lower our energy, our light. So as you release them, they don't go away. The memory is still there. But what happens is you take the power out of that memory. Is just something that happened, rather than some betrayal or whatever it was. And the emotional effect of it is released. Now, I work a lot with this material.
Right. And it's amazing. It's amazing. When you have people that come back, and when I first started doing this, it was doubt. I doubted, that's our human condition. I had just started. And after so long, you can only say this, tell people what you experience in their energy field, and then have that much confirmation come through that you kind of sit back and go, okay, this is it. This is real. This is true. And the relief you see people receive is amazing. So I just find it to be extremely rewarding and profound and blessed. I feel totally blessed to have such incredible guides that just step in and say, we're going to do this. So.
Do people have to revisit that emotion that went with that point of time?
Absolutely not.
Because I know how to disassociate. Probably would be the best word.
We're good at that, aren't we?
Here's the facts of things that happen, and here are the emotions. And I've learned over a period of time, let's look at these facts without having to touch these emotions. But it has always been helping someone else be able to do that without having any desire to go back and relive any of that. It's kind of like, here's my satchel, and out the window it goes.
There's no reliving it. It's just release. It really, it's kind of like EFT. I mean, I guess that's the way I can associate it. I had a lot of really nasty blockages, and I didn't realize it. I knew I had blockages. I didn't realize they were like that deep seated. But I went to somebody that was helping me with EFT, and he kept looking at me going, "Do you feel better?" And I was like, "Dude, what?" And finally, a couple weeks later, I looked back on these memories and I went, you know what? It doesn't bother me. And that's what I get from my clients is they look back and they go, it doesn't bother me anymore. The trauma just seems so faded away that it's just not important. So I don't know. There's no reliving it. There's no rehashing it. You just move forward. Spirit's amazing. It's just amazing. So I don't know.
Well,
I gave up trying to explain how they do, everything worked a long time ago, because I just kind of go, okay, you got this, and they do it. So
no, and again, there's just something to be said for that particular kind of thing. If it happens, then that's awesome.